Psalm 84. How lovely is your dwelling place, O Lord of hosts.
My soul longs, indeed it faints for the courts of the Lord. My heart and my flesh sing for joy to the living God.
Even the sparrow finds a home, and the swallow a nest for herself, where she may lay her young at your altars, O Lord of hosts, my King and my God.
Happy are those who live in your house, ever singing your praise. Happy are those whose strength is in you, in whose heart are the highways to Zion.
As they go through the valley of weeping, they make it a place of springs. The early rain also covers it with pools.
They go from strength to strength. The God of gods will be seen in Zion. O Lord, God of hosts, hear my prayer. Give ear, O God of Jacob.
Behold our shield, O God. Look on the face of your anointed. For a day in your courts is better than 1,000 elsewhere.
I would rather be a doorkeeper in the house of my God than live in the tents of wickedness.
For the Lord God is a sun and shield, bestowing favor and honor.
No good thing does the Lord withhold from those who walk uprightly. O Lord of hosts, happy is everyone who trusts in you. Holy wisdom, holy word. Thanks be to God.
They move as one, vacillating to and fro as they make their way, undulating with the rhythm of their synchronized steps, swaying to the beat of the songs they sing, as well as the ones that just fill their hearts. Songs they have sung since their youth. Songs that have become not just a part of their common language, but a part of their identity as a people, as individuals. And if you look with your mind's eye, you can see them ascending the hill together, winding their way from the bottom all the way to the top, 2,500 feet in elevation. And if you listen, train your ears, you can hear their faint song off in the distance, a song of anticipation, a song of assurance, a song of pilgrims ascending the holy hill, a song of ascents, a song written over 2,000 years ago, a song sung over and over again by millions for millennia. How lovely is your dwelling place, O Lord of hosts. My soul longs, indeed, it faints for the courts of the Lord. My heart and my flesh sing for joy to the living God. Even the sparrow finds a home, and the swallow a nest for herself, where she may lay her young at your altars, O Lord of hosts, my God and my King. Happy are those who live in your house, ever singing your praise. Perhaps you can hear them. How dear to me is your dwelling, O Lord of hosts. And when they finally reach the summit, after their incredibly long journey, there it stood in all of its grandeur, that which they had been journeying to see, the reason for their pilgrimage. There, atop the sacred mountain stood the temple. Magnificent, really. Nothing else exactly like it. Over 100 feet tall at its highest point, covering 36 acres. It was enough to take your breath away. Can you imagine? How dear to me is your dwelling, O Lord of hosts. Of course you can imagine it. You've seen buildings like this one before. Grand, impressive, opulent, one of a kind. You know the ones. You may have even taken a pilgrimage to visit one or more of them yourself. And upon seeing them, they somehow mysteriously cause you to pause, to glance about, trying to take it all in as if one could. Ancient temples, modern cathedrals, magnificent monuments that cause emotions to stir upon seeing them. The Parthenon, the temple of Zeus, the Pantheon, St. Peter's Basilica, St. Basil's, Notre Dame, the Capitol building, the National Cathedral. This building has the power to do the same inside us. How dear to me is your dwelling, O Lord of hosts. These buildings, dreamed, designed, fashioned for a sacred purpose. Structures built to create room for our minds, our emotions, our spirits to soar, to see visions beyond human imagining, to connect with something eternal, ineffable, transcendent. How dear to me is your dwelling, O Lord. But really, is it the buildings? These structures that do all of this? Can any collection of stone, mortar, brick, wood, mosaic, paint move us in such a way all by themselves? Or is there something else going on? Now, I would venture to say that the stones don't stand alone. Neither does the wood, plaster, or paint. And all of them combined, they can indeed open a space for something to happen. But there's something about the devotion of the hands that built them. the creativity and the expertise involved in forming them. Something about the spirit of those who have gone before that linger still in these places and spaces, the names we know and those we can never know to utter. But there's something else still. One of my favorite theologians, authors, and pastors, Barbara Brown Taylor, wrote, "As important as it is to mark the places where we meet God, I worry about what happens when we build a house for God. I am speaking no longer of the temple in Jerusalem, but the house of worship on the corner, where people of faith meet to say their prayer because saying them together reminds them who they are better than saying them alone. This is good, and all good things cast shadows. Do we build God a house so that we can choose when to go see God? Do we build God a house in lieu of having God stay at ours? Plus, what happens to the rest of the world when we build 4 walls, even 4 gorgeous walls, cap them with a steepled roof, and designate that as the house of God? What happens to the riverbanks, the mountaintops, the deserts, and the trees? What happens to the people who never show up in our house of God?" And she continues, "The people of God are not the only creatures capable of praising God after all. There are also wolves and seals. There are also geese and humpbacked whales. According to the Bible, even the trees clap their hands." Francis of Assisi loved singing hymns with his brothers and sisters, who included not only Brother Bernard and Sister Claire, but also Brother Sun and Sister Moon. Francis could not have told you the difference between the sacred and the secular if you had twisted his arm behind his back. Of course, Francis also built a church. In a vision he had, as vivid as Jacob's vision of the divine ladder, God called upon Francis to build a church. Unsure what church God meant, Francis chose a ruined one near where he lived, and people came from all over to help with the effort, even though they really didn't know what in the world they were doing. When it was done at last, Francis' church did not stand as a shelter from the world. It stood as a reminder that the whole world was God's house. And Barbara Brown Taylor writes, "I knew that when I was young, but I forgot. I knew that when I was young." So let's remind one another. Friends, the dwelling place of the divine is not out there, somewhere, in some strange sky castle with a cloudy throne. The dwelling place of the divine is not found in the work of our hands or in the conjurings of our wildest imaginations. The dwelling place of the divine is not a prison of 4 beautiful walls and a soaring steeple, nor is the divine presence bound up in paper and ink, wrapped in a leather cover. The dwelling place of the divine is as broad as the expanding universe and as close as that next breath and that heartbeat. I would argue that the spaces that we find holy become such because like recognizes like. You bear the presence of the divine. It's with you, within you. And she reminds you of her proximity when you take time to notice. The dwelling place of the divine is in each and every being you behold, including the one that glances back at you in the morning mirror. How dear to me is your dwelling, O Lord of hosts. How dear to me is your dwelling, O Lord of hosts. How dear to me is your dwelling.